Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to F1 23, my team career mode for episode number 3 today for the Australian Grand Prix. If you guys have not seen the last episode in Saudi Arabia, I highly recommend you do. It was a crazy race and 2 safety cars, and again, just as we did in Bahrain, we pitted for soft tires under that last safety car restart, which was a 2-lap shootout to the finish, and we went from back of the grid all the way up, and there was 9 disqualifications in that race. Crazy. So, what will happen here in Australia? I'm hoping it'll be a bit of a more calm race than it was in Saudi Arabia. But, if not, that's more entertainment for you, and more pain for me. Let's head to qualifying. Here we go. Here we go for lights out. 5 red lights. It was a crash in qualifying. Starting from the back, it's lights out and away we go. Starting on the soft tires, Felipe Drugovich also did not have a very good qualifying. Down in P16. We've been forced off by Logan Sargent. Let's pay the favor back to our fellow American. So we make a move on the Haas cars. Hulkenberg turns up into us. However, still we get the move done and up into P18. Try and make a move on the 2 medium tire runners of Alexander Albon and Yuki Tsunoda in front of us. We do for a double overtake up into P16. Now trying to chase after our teammate. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 upgrades that we were bringing to this race failed, the 2 chassis upgrades. However, we were able to bring 1 aerodynamic upgrade to the DRS. So, working along with Red Bull to work on their our DRS flap to make sure that we have one of the best DRS rear wing mechanisms on the grid, and here we are right behind our teammate now. Take a little look down the inside. He runs wide. Felipe runs wide, so I wasn't really planning on making a move. Actually, I turned back to follow him through the corner, but he went wide, as it seems as though Max Verstappen has an issue. He does. He's out of the race. Devastation for Red Bull, as because Max had just set the fastest lap of the race. He was on pole position, and he was leading the race quite comfortably, actually, ahead of the Mercedes of, I believe, George Russell. But now, it's all for nothing for the reigning world champion, as he DNFs out of the Australian Grand Prix. Not what he needed. After scoring his first points of the season in Saudi Arabia with a P2 finish. Up past Guan Yu Zhou into P13, now chasing after the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll and the Alpine of Pierre Gasly for P12 and 11. Well, I was about to say making a move on Lance Stroll for P12, and then we locked the tires up, went sailing right into Pierre Gasly. However, we were still able to make the move on Pierre accidentally. And now we're up into P11 on lap 5 of this 20-lap Grand Prix around Australia. Chasing after Valtteri Bottas. Currently, Alfa Romeo still yet to score points this season as we run wide once again. Bottas will definitely be trying to fight tooth and nail for this. Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin continues to annoy us. We have the McLaren and other Aston Martin ahead of us, battling in front of Valtteri Bottas, and that has brought these three right up to us, and Logan Sargent out of the race. And in the famous words of Fernando Alonso himself, karma. So we, with DRS, swoop past the Alfa Romeo of Valtteri Bottas up into the top 10 and into the points. Down the inside of the McLaren of Oscar Piastri, the home favorite. So we run wide just like Verstappen. Piastri forced me into the weeds. DRS on Fernando. So we again run wide. These tires really starting to wear down. Yellow flag for the stricken Williams. Our in-game rival of Esteban Ocon up in P7, but 4.6 seconds up the road. I don't see us catching him on this first stint. Probably gonna have to try and pass him through the pit stops. Our car is definitely good enough to beat Ocon. Dumb Mark, I've been in the top 10. I've been chasing Fernando for 2 laps now. Oh, there's definitely tire concerns. These tires are extremely worn out. The grip is gone. Sorry, Mike, but you really just need to shut the fuck up and let me drive. Especially if we're about to make this move. I'm Fernando. Here we come to the inside. The old man defends it. He runs wide, and we make the overtake stick. Now just have to try and defend the position. Force Fernando the long way around. Squeeze him out in the exit of the corner. And the overtake is done. However, Fernando, in that much faster Aston Martin, will surely come back at us. Come into the pit lane. Ocon's already made his stop. Opened about a 1.6 second gap to Fernando. However, still 7 seconds back from Esteban Ocon, who is the man that we want to try and beat in every session. So far, no safety cars. This race, other than 2 engine failures for Max Verstappen and Logan Sargent, this race has been decently nice. So we've cut the gap to Ocon by 1.5 seconds. I think he's being held up by some lap traffic, though. I think he's being held up behind Alexander Albon. Which is handy-dandy with me, because it means I can try and catch up. Now with the gap under 5 seconds. However, I'm going to have myself some traffic to deal with Nick DeFries. Sergio Perez hits from the lead. Down the inside we go. 4 seconds the gap between me and Esteban Ocon. However, now he's been freed from Alexander Albon. Not quite Lando Norris. Unless Norris has pulled the ultimate undercut. We are back to where we were. I think Lando has just been up in P6, P5 for the whole time. And we've just not known it because we've been fighting the 2 Aston Martins. Controller disconnected for a split second. Let's try this again. Gap between me and Ocon now. What is with this? Running wide. The gap between me and Ocon now 3.6 seconds. I am getting so peed off. 3.3 and closing. The gap now at just 3 seconds. Norris and Ocon fighting it out between each other. That's allowing us to close up. Could this be a situation of being in the right place in the right time? Where usually in these situations, it's me who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. 2.5 seconds now the gap. Between myself and Esteban Ocon. The two Aston Martins now fighting it out for the last 2 points finish positions. Six laps to go here in Australia. The gap now down to 2.1 seconds. Less than 2 seconds now. Every braking zone, the gap closes. Between myself and Esteban Ocon, as he is stuck behind the McLaren. However, down the straights, Ocon and Alpine have a much better car than us down the straights. The gap now back up to 2.3 seconds. want you to explain to me how. Four laps to go.
That's just 5 laps of fuel remaining.
The tires are now gone. Can't really do much. More than this. So upsetting because we're sticking to the 2.2 second to 2.5 second gap between myself and Esteban Ocon, yet it's kind of over.
Pace is strong, but be aware these tyres need to go the distance.
So Esteban Ocon fails to overtake Lando Norris, and that has slowed them right up to where we are now within DRS range. My opinion could have just been swapped around by our rival, as he failed to make a overtake challenge on Lando Norris into turn 1. I think we have Ocon by the nipples. That is a disgusting image. I apologize. But he's definitely worried. And rightly so, because now, here we come, DRS activated, down the inside of the Alpine, and ahead into P7. The McLaren could still be on the cards as well for P6. However, we need to defend this position first.
Increasing the gap to the car behind by a few seconds per lap. Keep it up.
How many times are you going to give me a penalty for stupid crap? Game? I'm not going off in that first corner. It's called, that's the goddamn racing line. Oh, kinda, I swear to God, if you touch my rear again, if you touch my car's rear end again, I'm gonna put you in the wall. Two laps to go. Ocon! Stop pushing! You prick. Last episode it was Lewis. This episode it's Ocon. Jesus Christ. Esteban. What the fuck? Well, there goes P6. But also, there goes our rival. Bye-bye. 2 things done in one go. Now, having to defend the P7 position from 2 fast-charging Aston Martins. See, Ocon, this is how wheel-to-wheel racing should go. Not you pushing people off. Fucking dick. We lose a lot of time through the second sector. Lewis Hamilton wins the Australian Grand Prix for Mercedes. Lando Norris finishes P6, and we come out of the final corner to resume our every race point scoring record, and we finish P7 from having to start at the back.
Another superb Australian Grand Prix comes to an end there, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Quite simply, a driver is nothing without the team behind them. So, a deserved winner, but we do have to give a shout out to the team in the pit lane and back at the factory. Very much a collaborative process.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. Let's have a look then at the driver's standings. Well, it wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the obvious choice at this point, but he's certainly a driver deserving of his great reputation.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continued to extend the gap at the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
So we continue our push for the Constructors' Championship position. currently sat P4, 13 points behind Mercedes, and 18 points ahead of our rival of Alpine. Aston Martin probably will be scratching their heads wondering what happened today. We, on the other hand, from starting P22 to finish P7, that is where it's at. Esteban Ocon, with that 5-second time penalty, actually finishes behind our teammate. So, once again, I say it, in the famous words of Fernando Alonso, karma. Guys, if you have enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, click that little bell, get notified whenever I post new videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.